Awesome. Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here with us tonight. You're at our quarterly town hall, and we're focused on the competition update for this quarter. So here today, I'm Sarah McAuliffe. I'm a director of competition at USRowing. Also on this call, we have the Chief Program Officer, Rich Cachopo, and our Chief Community Engagement Officer, Jenny Trays. If you have any questions throughout this presentation, please do feel free to put them in the Q&A. We'll get to everything at the very end of this. So while you're here today, if you've been on this call, or if you're on this call, you've probably seen our regatta announcement come out this morning about the 2023 and 2024 regatta schedule. What also came out with that is a letter from Rich Cachopo explaining a little bit more in detail of what we've been focusing on with our goals, challenges, and how we're working through the next 2 years. Additionally, there's an FAQ that's aligned with that. So we'll answer a lot of those questions that we do address in that document as well. But that's also a resource that you can use in combination with this PowerPoint. So starting off, so why we're here today. So going into the 2023-24 regatta strategy, so we'll explain in detail of how we got to where we are, go into the schedule and explain in detail of why we're going to the venues that we chose. And then we will explain the execution of how we will host those events. Coming into 2025, we will post our 2025 regatta schedule at the end of Q1 of 2023 in an effort to allow you all to plan better for years to come. And over the next month, we're going to be doing road shows and working with regions to get your feedback on where we do want to go. So this is my first plug. I'm going to make many plugs, but please join in on those sessions as we're trying to partner with the regions to better understand where you guys have connections, what you know that we might not know quite yet, and see where we can develop courses more in the future. Finally, we'll talk about long-term planning. So going back to those regional discussions and what we're looking for 2026 and beyond. Oops. All right, so what we're doing here. So our number one goal across the board is keeping things simple and doing the right things 100% accurately. We have, for a number of reasons, not been able to accomplish the simple tasks as effectively as we should be doing. So we're going back to base one and figuring out how we can do those perfectly and ensure that you all have a great experience with our regattas. So our number one goal coming into the 23-24 regatta season, planning and communication. So how we're doing that right now. Tonight, we're here to give you the next 2 years of regatta planning, making your logistics a little bit easier, booking hotels, booking flights, and that type of thing. As I mentioned, in Q1 of 23, we'll announce the 2025 regatta schedule. And then throughout this presentation, you're going to get more dates of what to look for. Items like when the regatta packets are coming out, when you'll be able to understand what the parking updates will be for 23, and those type of things. We've received a lot of feedback over the last months, and that has come through structured responses such as surveys. So after our regattas this year, we received a lot of feedback from you all, and then our partnerships with the region specifically. I think I've talked to probably a good amount of you on this call, and a lot of other staff members as well have talked to you all. But our main focus has been figure out what's gone right, what you really like about the regattas, kind of pie in the sky dreams of what we can host at regattas and what can make your life a lot easier. So between that feedback and those conversations, we've met with 30 plus venues. We've met with over 24 coaches and executive directors to really determine that. And that's what you kind of see here of how we're presenting the next couple of years. On top of that, we're going to have some comment periods. So over the next month or two, or over October and November, USRowing will work with the regional councils in developing entry packets and getting really firm on what we believe is the right direction to go. After partnering with those regional councils, we'll go ahead and put these packets up for comment. So any member will be able to comment there, and then we can make it live at the beginning of February 1st of 2023. Another goal adding into planning and communication is the operations side of the planning. So I'm going to pick a reference there. I'm going to pick Youth Nationals. So one of the big things at Youth Nationals this coming year is our practice opportunity was not organized well. So we had quite a bit of people on land trying to get on water, and it wasn't an enjoyable experience. One thing that we're doing, I'm going to talk about specifically for that, is as you come to Youth Nationals this year, you're going to be allotted practice times, and we don't know exactly by what yet. So give us time as we develop and work with you all to figure out the best way to do so. But it's going to be very clear in the sense of who can practice when. You're going to know it ahead of time, so you can go ahead and book your flights and schedule transportation around it, and then just have an overall easier experience at the start of the week rather than having to go through that stress prior to competition day. So that's one example of how we're moving forward on land. Again, on water, partnering with our referee corps, partnering with our director of safety, Tom Rooks, to make sure that we are keeping the right thing moving forward and keeping you all safe and fair. On top of that, we've added a lot more staff support. So team of one for a little bit over here, but we've been able to grow to a team of 3 and have additional programs within USRowing that are supporting regattas and traveling to regattas to make sure that you all have a great staffing experience. Other areas where staff don't necessarily need to be involved, we're trying to automate a lot of the processes, so things will be a lot smoother, and you can rely on dates much more there. Oops. Second goal here is regatta priorities. So if you are in our last quarterly town hall, we referenced 5 regatta priorities. Starting with the most important here is safety, then going to fairness, access, comfort, and delight. While all of those are incredibly important, we're really ensuring that our safety and fairness is completely 100% there for you all, so then we can continue to build upon access, comfort, and then delight at the very end. As we partner with these venues, and as I give you a little bit more insight of what's worked with venues, what hasn't worked, what's been a challenge, we can show you how we're being able to contribute to venues, both financially and management wise, to create more courses that are able to hold our events and deliver a good experience. So coming into this 23 and 24 regatta planning period, we had 5 main focuses. The overall focus, I would say, the overarching focus is, again, making sure that the member experience is exactly what you need it to be. Exactly like stress-free on your end. You're at a championship, you want to have a good time, and it puts member experience over any finances or any other ability of what any limitations that a venue could be currently holding for us. So to focus first, more masters racing. Our masters audience, you guys are phenomenal. You're very vocal, and we heard you that more masters regional racing is extremely important. USRowing has hosted 2 masters regional championships over the past couple of years consistently, being Northwest and Southeast. And they're fantastic regattas and some great competitions happening there. But the other regattas that we have hosted, they've been very sporadic, and they haven't been successful in regards to entry numbers and where they're placed on the regatta season. Coming into the 23 season and 24, we'll now have 5 Masters Regional Championships, which is, we're extremely excited to be able to host you for all of those. I'll go into more details of what that looks like and who we're partnering with to allow this opportunity to happen. But one thing that we're drumming up is that Masters will race their regional championships all on one weekend. So we're drumming up that excitement that Masters will all go down the course. We'll go down and race 1,000 meters there, get it done, and then have the same amount of time to train for Masters Nationals if they do so wish. On top of that too, we heard from you Masters that sometimes it's easier to just, drive up that morning, race in your region, drive home that night, or stay over for one hotel night or so. This will give the Masters the opportunity to race to get that championship fix in without dedicating a vacation to it. The second focus here is securing Youth Nationals. So we're extremely proud of our Youth National Championship that has now grown to 750 plus boats in there, with an extremely diverse group of athletes, a lot of different ages, a lot of different boat classes. And it was really exciting to see the younger kids looking up to the older athletes this past year at Nathan Menderson Park. As we look for a venue for Youth Nationals, it was extremely important to us that we look for something that does hold that number of people. So we had 3,500 plus spectators, 3,500 plus athletes as well. So obviously holding is extremely important. And then a venue that's willing to invest in infrastructure and ability to host you all as well. So we're excited to say Nathan Menderson Park will be our partner for the next 2 years. And as we go, again, this is 23 and 24. As we go for youth nationals, it's a priority to us to develop more venues that are able to accommodate an event like youth nationals. So as we would love to have, a Class A course in every venue or in every region. Immediately looking at it, we know there's about probably 2, maybe 3 venues out there that can host youth nationals, one being Lake Natoma, and they're a great partner of ours for the regional championships. Lake Natoma, again, will host our Southwest Youth Regional Championship, but they're not in a place where they're able to host youth nationals because they can't host any regattas past May. California State Parks doesn't allow them to host due to permits and ensuring that they don't want to interfere with any of the public pleasure boat traffic. So at this point in time, it's a never say never, but there's not an opportunity for us to bring to the West Coast with this audience. Our third focus here is add to venue rotation. So we all know that there's not that many venues out there that we're working with. And our goal right now is to continue to build on what we currently have. And then as we work to future years, and I'll go into that in a bit, increase that number of venues. Our first step in doing that, though, is for the 23 and 24 season, we're adding 6 new venues to our rotation. And those 6 venues are either completely new to USRowing, or they are venues that USRowing hasn't been to in the past 4 to 5 years. An example of that would be Worcester for Northeast Youths. Our fourth focus, so unified summer championships. Summer nationals, club nationals, whatever we call it here, has taken on a wide variety of forms. So we've had 4, 5, 6 days of racing, and the continued feedback is it's a massive regatta and it's tiring. There's a lot of effort that our referees, our coaches, our athletes are exhausted, our vendors are exhausted by the end of it. As we go into the 2023 season, our first step in making this summer championship the most effective summer championship possible was condensing it to 4 days. So what that'll look like, that'll remove the trials portion of the regatta and really focus on one goal of just domestic racing and rules of rowing there. So combining that and making it a 4-day regatta, still accommodating our U23 Open, U19 and U17 audience. And then on top of that too, looking at how we can make sure from a summer national championship and a masters national championship that we are making your lives easier when traveling to these events. So I'm going to talk both on summers and masters here. We've gotten a lot of feedback that our summer nationals and masters nationals, West Coast teams or teams that are traveling are really having to pick one of the 2 regattas to fully support. So whether it's driving to wherever it may be, Mercer, and then driving up to Oak Ridge, it was challenging for people to leave their trailer there, potentially drive it back home for a little bit, and then the next week drive out to another venue. This has happened with summer nationals and masters nationals quite a bit. With our ending goal of trying to save you all some efforts of driving a trailer once, dropping it, using your staff time effectively. In 2023, we're taking the first step to get there and allowing for summer nationals to be at Bethel, Ohio, and we'll host it for 4 days. Then your trailers will be able to leave the Sunday night afterwards, drive 2.5 hours or so to Indianapolis, drop the trailer and get ready for Masters Nationals. So different audiences there, but really takes advantage of the opportunity to use one trailer, having staff focused for 2 weeks rather than multiple weeks of using driving time. Finally, our final focus here is bringing our values with us always. So our venue and vendor policy has been started by us at USRowing and worked with a lot of different partners throughout the process. But this is a part of our contracts that every venue and vendor will be involved in. So all our venues will work with us and will sign on to items in the venue and vendor policy that consist of LOC staff inclusivity training. We'll also focus on making sure that there's inclusivity on our signage and our vendors and making sure our community partners are there that are representing our community and members well. The venue and vendor policy is going to go ahead and be up posted by December 31st as well. So that's something that we'll all be able to see and again, partner with our venues on. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so getting into the fun here. So a little insight into our regattas. Right here, you see our logos for it. So this is just kind of insight. I'm going to go into each and every one and explain the nitty-gritty details. But really excited to have a great look and feel in partnership with some of our upcoming venues. All right, so the 2023 regatta schedule. So starting off on our first weekend of the youth series, working with Southwest youths, we're heading back to Lake Natoma. Super excited to be back at that venue again. For Central youths, heading back to Oklahoma City. Again, a great partner that we'll see a couple other times in 23 and 24. The second week of our youth series will be for Mid-Atlantics. We're headed back to Mercer Lake to partner with PNRA. And Southeast youths will be headed to Lake Lanier. So I'll stop here. Lake Lanier is one of those 6 venues that we'll be adding to our mix. USRowing has been to them in the past, but it's been a couple years to do so. And USRowing has a commitment to our Southeast region that we will partner, or we will go back and forth from the northern part and the southern part of the region, because there are courses that are able to hold an event like this and make driving to each part or flying to each part a little bit more accessible for the greater audience there. So Lake Lanier is an exciting partner. They're putting in a lot of investments to the venue, a new boathouse, a lot of paving and making things easier to launch and recovery from. But again, excited to add them back to the list. For Northwest youth, we'll head back to Vancouver Lake. For Northeast youth, we're going to head to Lake Quinsigamond in Worcester, Mass, which will be the first time that we've been there since 2015 for Masters Nationals. So you can see here, Lake Lowell has been our go-to venue for the past couple years. Lowell's definitely undergoing some changes of how they're handling their LOCs and how they partner with us on this front. So we reached out to Worcester, Mass and see where we can, go and partner with them. They have a great weekend available for us and it coincided and it worked out perfectly. And, we'll be good as we grow that partnership moving forward. A couple weeks later, we're headed to Youth Nationals. We're back to Sarasota, Florida. So Benderson Park has been a great partner of ours and excited to bring the great amount of spectators and vendors and athletes back to that event. The following 2 weeks, we've really, as you see, we have 5 events right here. So super excited about this. We've really drummed up the point of including all of our Masters Regional Championships on the same weekend. And the reason being is to concentrate all the focus on Masters that weekend so we can really give the Masters the attention that they deserve. We'll start with Northwest Masters. So Northwest Masters is a change and an exciting change as well. Northwest Masters was originally at Vancouver Lake, and due to environmental issues over the past couple of years, the LOC, who was also another great partner, and us decided that it wasn't fair to the competitors to have this uncertainty of hosting this event moving forward due to the environmental issues. So we moved forward with Dexter Lake, and they've been a great partner. We have a lot of work coming on our end and looking forward to partnering with the Northwest Council even more to do some site visits and getting ready for the next 2 years. Southeast Masters, we're headed back to Langley Pond. We're again another developing regatta venue that's added a finish tower in the past couple of years, is adding a viewing dock, is changing the course up a little bit, and has some other infrastructure that they're really investing in. For Southwest Masters, we're headed to Lake Otay in Chula Vista. So that'll be the first time that USRowing has hosted a domestic event there. We've hosted trials events there and some speed orders, but headed back there and excited because the venue is really investing in our regattas and wants to bring other regional championships there as well. Before I head on to the next 2, I do want to note that Northwest Masters and Southwest Masters, as we do add those 2 regatta venues on, we're excited to not only use them as a USRowing venue, of course, but make them available to other regattas within those regions. If there's any Northwest people on the call right now, I know the Northwest is it has been a challenging pace to find a venue that can hold an event this large. So excited to host Dexter and excited to bring more events there. Pac-12 is already there and we can add to that list. On the latter side of this timeline, you'll see 2 partner regattas. So we are partnering with Diamond State Masters and Stars and Stripes Masters. So I'll focus on Diamond State Masters here. Diamond States was a regatta that has been around for so many years now and has come up many, many times with you all on how important it is and how it's kind of like a key regatta that you look forward to throughout the year leading up to Masters Nationals. So we immediately contacted Diamond States, understood kind of where they were coming from, what their challenges are, and how we can support them. So moving forward, USRowing will be a partner with them, and that'll look like how we can contribute to the event financially or support with personnel or whatever that may be. But it will be our official Northeast and Mid-Atlantic Masters Regional Championships. Diamond States will continue to own the regatta, will continue to create the event list, run it, do all of those type of things, and we'll support them as they see fit. The Stars and Stripes Central Masters Regional Championships, hosted by Oklahoma City. That's a newer regatta and a regatta that is looking to grow in that area. So we're excited to partner with them to grow the event, to promote the event, to work with the referee corps and continue to develop it into a more professionalized event there. But that will be our Central Masters Regional Championship as well. Going on to the last half of the regatta season, Summer Nationals and Masters Nationals. So looking at it as a pair right now, again, important for us to match those two regattas as close together as possible, because our feedback from you all was that they were, so it was challenging to get to both regattas and staff it effectively. Our Summer National Championship at Bethel, Ohio will again be 4 days and host the same audience that we've seen in years past, U19, U17, Open in 23. And then Masters Nationals just a week later, we'll head to Indianapolis. Indianapolis has been a great LOC and we're looking forward to bringing some USRowing events back there. But again, you'll be able to leave from Summer Nationals, head right up to Indianapolis just a couple hours later and really use your staff time effectively. '24 regatta schedule. So some similarities, I'll brush over those. Southwest Youth, we're going back to Lake Natoma. Central Youths headed back to Oklahoma City. Second week of Youth Series, Mid-Atlantics, PNRA will continue to be our partner at Mercer Lake. Southeast Youths will again go to the southern part of the region, so heading back to Nathan Benderson Park. The third week for Northwest Youths being at Vancouver Lake. And then Northeast Youths will head back to Lowell. So we're excited to come back to Lowell at this time, and we feel that that'll give us enough time to understand the LOC a bit more, figure out how USRowing can best support this regatta, and work with the Northeast Council effectively to make sure that we're running the best experience that we can there. A couple of weeks later, headed back to Benderson Park for Youth Nationals, and then same thing. And 2 weeks later, we're back to a Masters Regional Regatta weekend. So here we're at the same locations. Northwest Masters, Southeast Masters, and Southwest Masters continue to be at the same venues. And we're excited about that opportunity because now we get at least 2 years of really developing and making venue improvements there. So whether that means at Northwest Masters contributing to a dock or figuring out how many more docks or venue flow, that type of thing, we're able to do so and invest in 2 years. We'll again partner with Diamond States and Stars and Stripes to accommodate our Northeast and Mid-Atlantic audience and our Centrals audience. And one thing I do want to address there too, it was extremely important for us to partner with these regattas, one being established and already existing and growing the sport of rowing in their region, and us not wanting to compete with that regatta competition. So in the past, we've hosted a NEMA championship, a Northeast Mid-Atlantic Regional Championship, and it hasn't been super effective because of the number of weekends and competition, but focusing on this partnership will allow us to be able to focus on how we can support and grow rowing in that region rather than compete. Ending the 2024 regatta schedule. So I referenced in 2023, we're working to this atmosphere where it keeps it simple for you all. It keeps you able to drive across country or drive wherever you meet, drive up the road and park your trailer, race one audience, then focus on the next audience just a couple hours later in Indianapolis. As we move forward to 2024, we're adopting RowFest. And so what that looks like is Oklahoma City will be home to RowFest from July 13th through 21st. That weekend, so that's 8 to 10 days if you're adding how many, coming in and practice day and that type of thing. What that looks like is the first 4 days of racing is Summer National Championships. So again, U23 Open, U19 and U17. We have a day in between that allows for the course to be adjusted and any other adjustments, people to come and go. And then we have the Masters National Championship the last 4 days. So our audience doesn't need to come for the full 4 days there, but it allows, again, for staffing needs, for boathouse needs, to really focus all their efforts on solely that week. And then the rowers, you can come as needed and your equipment's going to be there. On top of that too, for our Masters audience and our Summer Nationals audience, one of our main focuses is creating this festival-like atmosphere. So we want you to come on site and we want you to have dinners to attend, for sessions to attend in the boathouse, for learning and development sessions to attend on how to rig your single or whatever that may be. So this is an event where Masters could potentially have a session that they might want to attend the Thursday night before or the Wednesday night before, that really teaches them how to rig their boat personalized to them, or many other options. But that festival-like atmosphere, we're really thinking out of the box here. At this point, it is worth showing a quick video. And bear with me for 1 second as I get this put together.
And while Sarah's getting that ready, just a note to everybody to use the Q&A if you have questions. And I'm going to be collecting those and trying to aggregate them so that we can respond once Sarah is finished.
Awesome. When developing the thoughts for RowFest, one of our big priorities was to find a venue that could, again, effectively host the number of people there. And I think that video really encompasses just all the events and all the extra resources that this venue does have. So whitewater rafting, whatever it may be, visiting the museum at the start of the course, the city's right there. It really gives you the opportunity to take advantage of some of the other sites in Oklahoma City. Okay. Great. So we just went over 2023 and 24. There's a lot of really exciting things there, but I'd be remiss to say that there aren't some challenges that we ran into as we are planning this process. Focusing on 3 main challenges, one being availability. We ran into a lot of problems, like I mentioned with Lake Natoma, of venues that do have the availability to host our regattas at the size that they are. There's a lot of permit constraints, community commitments. Pleasure boat traffic continues to be a priority in a lot of waterways. So we're running into that issue quite a bit and having to get creative on how we're staffing that effectively and how we're able to kind of displace those pleasure boaters for a short period of time, whether it's a financial component or working with the cities way in advance to secure it weekends out or years out. The second being ability and interest. Coming out of COVID, a lot of our LOCs, boathouses, whatever the LOC takes the shape of, were reprioritizing where they put their staff. So if it's a visitors bureau, if again, boathouse, whatever it may be, they might not have the staff to host an event this big, or the volunteers to host an event this big. How we're able to now look at this is, instead of creating kind of a one-size-fit-all document that says, we're going to come in, it's going to be turnkey, and you're going to have volunteers and all these type of things. We're re-looking at that and seeing if we can create multiple different offerings. So, give us a venue and we'll support via multiple staff, multiple, financial contributions and that type of thing. But our flexibility of working with venues is getting a lot stronger as we go. It needs to. Venue fit, once again, Youth Nationals is a great example. We have regattas that are quite big in the sport of rowing. Our goal is to grow it. So as we do that, we need staffing, we need infrastructure and courses that are willing and able to take that size on. Another thing to note here, so in regards to environmental factors, I mentioned Vancouver Lake. not being able to host Northwest Masters moving forward. We're continuing to see items like that pop up. So we want to be sure, again, a venue fit that's going to be able to, the city, the county, whatever it may be, is investing into the venue to allow us to keep hosting it. Why it's worth it. So this is the fun part too. Why we're all here for this is to ensure that our competitors are getting to regattas, and they are being sure that at the start of the race course, they're going to have the most exceptional time that they could ever have, no matter what the regatta is. So our goal is to make sure the competitor experience, by the time you step on the course, step in the trailer field, go to the vendor, whatever it may be, you're having a phenomenal experience, whether you win or lose or whatever that looks like. But focusing on that experience is what is leading all of this charge. And if we can do it effectively and make sure that all our competitors leave happy, we've done our job right. How we can make sure that competitor experience is effective is making sure we're supporting our supporters. So referees, our vendors, our LOCs, so many other people out there, our regional councils who are consistently partnering with us and giving us feedback, and making sure, that we're taking their feedback and doing the right thing with it and using it effectively and putting our time and efforts in the right place is extremely important. So while this is both a thank you for the supporters that are continuing to show up and give us a feedback, also encouragement to continue to join us and push us. These regional roadshows over the next month are going to be super key of how we can grow. So please join us in on that. And then finally, why we're doing this is the growth of the sport. As we grow, for youth nationals, for example, like it is extremely exciting to see the wide range of audience that we are able to bring into that regatta and the excitement that was distributed throughout that entire week there. If we can allow our competitors to have a great experience, they're going to want to come back, and we're going to continue to grow the sport and have great experiences there. So what comes next? We've done a lot of work. We've secured the venues. Now what's next? I mentioned the regional meetings. So dates to be determined, we'll send those out, but we encourage councils, coaches, executive directors, parents, whoever it may be, come with ideas, come with thoughts, what we may have missed, what we can do better, what venues you may have connections with, and structures of regattas moving forward. We're here to really just listen and take in and talk more about our experiences. Going into December, so over this month, so October and November, again, USRowing working with the councils to make sure our packets are in a good place. December 1st through 31st, they will be up on our website for comment. So you'll be able to go ahead and send us an email, let us know if you think something should be changed. And then we'll take the month of January to consider, look at, and talk more about those. On December 31st, we will publish our venue and vendor procedures, which I had mentioned. And we will also publish our 2026 plus request for proposal. So that will look like what we develop and learn from you all in our regional meetings too. We'll kind of spearhead what is additionally included in our request for proposals. We have a good idea now of what we need, but it's really getting to what we can really contribute to grow a venue from the ground up over the next couple of years and increase our venue diversity. In February, so February 1, we'll post those final regatta entry packets, and that'll include competition details, event list, and that type of thing. March 1, we'll post our regatta logistics. So that looks like parking, practice times, and those more on land type of logistics. Then coming to March 31st, we're actually back here with you all, and then we'll be announcing our 2025 regatta schedule. So again, all of this is growing on top of the year before. We're excited to add those 6 venues that we are currently partnering with and grow them so that they do become 25, 26, 27 venues that we can potentially host national championships at someday. And on that note, we'll take any questions that do come in.
Great. Well, a couple of questions have come in. So I'm going to run through these. Because I didn't note this formally, I won't use people's names moving forward unless you explicitly say it's okay to use your name. So I'll treat them all as anonymous. The first question, I'm going to hand this one off to you, Sarah. Will the state to save policy remain in place, or will there be an attempt to shift back to state to play?
Yes, so we'll stick with the stay to save policy, so which is currently in place right now. HBC is our hotel partner. So they go in, they book our staff rooms and they book team rooms that give you the opportunity to save money with hotel blocks. So you'll see on all of our web pages currently, there is a hotel link up. Some of them are still adding some hotels, but those will be up in the next couple days if they're not already. But yeah, so stay to save is still in place, and it you know, it benefits all of us if we're taking advantage of it. And our goal is really to just give you hotel options that are affordable and that are at a wide variety of places to stay. So depending on where and distance and that type of thing.
Move off of mute. The next question, I appreciate the clarity of this regatta and venue schedule. How do trials events fit around this schedule? Has the structure, dates of that progression been announced? And if not, how will that be communicated? I'll hand that one off to you as well, Sarah.
Sorry, you cut out for the last bit of that. Could you say that one more time?
Sure. I'll just read the whole thing. I appreciate the clarity of this regatta and venue schedule. How do trials events fit around this schedule? Has the structure, dates of that progression been announced? And if not, how will that be communicated?
In regards to trials.
Correct.
So that, yes, so we've working with the national team side of things on just understanding where they're thinking. They will be announced later on, but we've been working with them to ensure that there's not current overlap on that. Specific attention I'll pay to Summer Nationals. So I mentioned the trials component that once was at Summer Nationals will no longer be there. So that will be a separate event as well, but that's something that will come in the next couple months.
Great, thanks, Sarah. The next question, what steps is USRowing actively going to be taking to invest in new venues? Are they putting money behind this push to get more venues on board? How is USR stepping up to fill in the gaps left by LOCs? What is the projected timeline to stop hosting youth nats in Florida? So I'm going to kind of decompose that. There's a lot there, and then I will hand off a little bit to Sarah at the end. So let me be very clear about this when it comes to longer term venue planning and what that's going to require. Let me first start by saying it's going to be all hands on deck for what we do here. Investing in new venues, I think everybody on this call is aware of what that takes. And the first step is the meetings that we're having this November with regions, because we can't do it alone. From LOCs to visitors bureaus to sports commissions to USRowing direct investment, of which we are starting to make in some of the venues that we're going to now or returning to. We really have to go through this process of identifying where is that investment going to have the highest return over the next decade plus. And so that process is going to start with these calls in November. We'll continue with the launch of our RFPs at the end of this year, as well as a venue scorecard, and then really deep regional partnership. I'll give you an example. I've been talking to folks in the Pacific Northwest, where I lived for 7 years, and have a treasure trove of all of the attempts that have been made over the past 25 years to bring additional venues to light. That is the hard work that we have to do together as a broader rowing community. So it's going to be a combination of all of those things, and being part of that process is going to be really important. I invite all of you to join us for that. How is USRowing stepping up to fill in the gaps left by LOCs? Two things, and Sarah, please add in from there. The first is that our long-term venue plan is going to include different partnership models. We don't want to be limited to certain venues only if they have fully staffed and more mature LOCs and staffing. So as we move forward to our RFP process, request for proposal in 2026 and beyond, it'll be almost menu options of, you know, lightweight, medium, and full service LOC. So that way we have the ability to then adjust the support that we need to provide as USRowing in order to bring a venue for our competitors. The other piece of this that's going to be really critical is volunteers. There has been a significant challenge, especially post-COVID, for LOCs to source volunteers. So one of the things that we will be launching next year will be part of our operation plan, along with practice, parking, and the other logistics, is a USRowing volunteer policy for clubs that will launch starting in 2023. And more details will come out about that early next year. Sarah, is there anything that you want to add on that point around filling the gaps left by LOCs? I
think you hit everything. Sounds
great. So then the final part of this question was, what is the projected timeline to stop hosting youth nationals in Florida? We've laid out the challenges and the puzzle to solve here. I want to be very clear that it's a top priority for us to identify at least one other venue commensurate with the quality and the experience that we can deliver at Nathan Benderson. Lake Natoma, as Sarah mentioned, is one of the venues that we've been looking at, but they've told us that at least for now, for the next several years or foreseeable future, that this is not a possibility. We're not going to give up on that, and we're going to try to find creative ways to make that work over the next several years, but it's not something that we can count on. So I don't have an answer for you because we're not going to let a date drive that decision. We're going to have experience drive that decision.
Mm-hmm.
The next two questions I'm going to combine. There's one question that said, the FAQ mentioned USRowing is exploring ways to make youth nationals more equitable for teams that have to travel. What are some of these possibilities? A high school athlete from the West Coast will spend about $20,000 over 4 years of attending East Coast Nationals championships twice per year. And I'm going to pair that with a related question. Actually, you know what? I think it's, let me make sure this is not covered in the other one. I think that covers it generally. I think there's one other related question. Let me start by saying that the most important thing is that we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Anything that we're looking into investigating in order to normalize participation and travel costs is a substantive investment for us that is then going to take away from our ability to invest in venues to diversify our geography for the future. So we're trying to be very careful about this and make sure that if we launch something, it's something that's going to be durable and persistent and is the right priority as opposed to directing that investment to additional venues. So I'm not ready to share any of the specifics there, but I will tell you that from a membership and participation perspective, we're looking at 1, the cost to participate, and 2, the cost to travel. The other related question that came up there was around anything around reduced flights and air travel. So one of the things that I am looking into right now with the partnership that exists with Delta and the USOPC, that currently does not cover any domestic competition. And I do not know yet whether or not that's going to be any material discounts that we could offer, but it is something that we are investigating to see if we could extend it at the very least for youth nationals. So I want to be very, very careful here. When we share our plans and everything that Sarah's talked to you about tonight, that is a commitment that we're making. So, but I also want to be equally clear not to promise something or not to drive us in a direction that we're not prepared to actually deliver on. So I hope you understand that right now we're not ready to share more, but it is something that we are looking at. Great. Next question. This may have been answered, but I think it seems like this is almost a planted question. I enjoy being a regular volunteer here at PNRA Mercer. I would like to volunteer at other U.S. rowing regattas outside of Mercer, but find it difficult to learn about those opportunities. Could you create a posting board or some other means for visiting volunteers to learn about opportunities at other U.S. rowing venues? Sarah, will you take that one for us?
This is my favorite question I've ever seen. Yes, so short-term volunteer plan, like as Rich mentioned, volunteers are quite challenging, but the volunteers that we do interact with at venues are extremely passionate. And most of the time you all are the ones doing multiple regattas at these venues a year. We will again create this volunteer policy in an effort to not overwhelm our LOCs, but provide them with a resource of experienced volunteers. So what that looks like is like being able to identify the volunteers who are the phenomenal launch drivers, or are people who, you know, have experience with timing, or, you know, just really passionate in the parking lot, whatever it may be. So that's our first step. As we go from there, like what a, you know, again, this is no promise, but like pie in the sky could look like a US rowing volunteer partnership, and you know, having a list of people who travel around the country who could be in the area and say, you know, I'm looking to volunteer at this regatta venue and see if there's opportunities for my skill set. So yes, it's definitely coming. We need to take small steps so we can do it effectively and manage it effectively. But that's definitely something that people like you who are reaching out, who are passionate on the volunteer side, do want to get more involved. And again, it is another way that we're going to grow the sport of rowing. So not necessarily being on the water all the time, but there's people who want to be in the launch boat every single event. So yes, we're working towards that and would love to talk to you more about it.
Great, thanks, Sarah. We have another question here. How would US Rowing recommend coaches tell our trans and non-binary athletes that in order to compete at the highest level of their sport, they must travel to a state that doesn't recognize their right to exist in accordance with their identifying gender? How does US Rowing square Florida's anti-LGBTQ laws with its own policies? And so the one thing I'll say before I hand it off to Jenny is that Jenny and I took a lot of care with the community and with our teams in crafting and delivering the message that we did last spring around Masters Nationals being in Sarasota. And we both stand behind the position in that letter. But I will hand it off to Jenny because I think there are some specifics here that would be worth calling out in relationship to our venue and vendor procedures that are forthcoming and our general plan for 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just underscore what Sarah went through in terms of our priorities for venue selection, and safety is the top one. So that's both physical safety and emotional well-being. I would say, as Rich mentioned, we are continuing to take our values to these locations and make sure that our rowers are safe when they're competing. A few things to call out when it comes to the vendor and venue policy is that starting in 2023, we'll be implementing a mandatory inclusion training for LOCs and volunteers that are working with us to understand our values, expectations for everyone on site, how we should interact with each other. A few things that went really well this summer that we'll continue to do is leveraging the people within the community and community organizations to signal on site our values. So for example, when we went to Florida this summer, we worked with multiple for specifically LGBTQ organizations to have a table, pass out resources, answer questions, and connect with rowers on site. What else did I want to mention? So I would just kind of underscore that safety is the #1 priority. We, if people have ideas and want to connect on that, we're always open to it, but we're going to continue to keep in mind and keep #1 priority the experience of all our rowers, and that includes LGBTQ young people, and we're excited to kind of release our updated trans policy in the next month or two as well, to signal that rowing is a place for them. So I hope that answers your question.
Thanks so much, Jenny. We have one more question here that I will hand off to Sarah. Clarification on youth age categories for summer nationals, parentheses, are we dismissing U16 events from last year's summer youths or keeping them with U17 and U19?
Yeah, great question. And just to clarify, I'm use those terms rather generally, so should have been more specific on that front. We're not in the stage quite yet to dive into exactly what that event list will look like. We had a couple U16 events in there, so they very much could be. As we mentioned, this 4-day summer national championship, it's going to be important for us to really focus on what events are listed because it is only 4 days with quite a wide range of ages in there. So sorry, not discounting U16, not saying that they won't be in there. I simply don't have the answer. And that's kind of something that we'll be working on with those regional road shows and partnering with the councils moving forward.
Great. Well, that is it for questions. So if there's nothing else, Sarah, would you like to take us home?
I'd love to. Yes, thank you all so much for being here tonight. It's exciting, and we're really excited to be able to offer this next plan for the next 2 years. And as we mentioned, the 2025 plan is coming just around the corner. I'm going to put in the chat the FAQs. So if you have some more lingering questions, hopefully this FAQ document can help you address that. And then as always, please feel free to reach out to us with any feedback. Sorry, let me grab this link really quick. Perfect.
I got it for you, Sarah. You keep going.
Okay, awesome. And I also just want to give a thank you because I know there's a lot of people, again, in this call, not in this call, who will watch the recording, who have taken phone calls and really been key and very instrumental in making sure that this goes off without a hitch. So big thank you to the councils, the coaches, the directors, the rowers, and more who are involved with this. You'll see this recording within the week, so that'll be posted to our website and pushed out via social media. And stay tuned for the regional regatta dates or the regional roadshow regatta dates. All right.
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank
great
you.
night.
Bye.